In the quiet spaces between scripture and stone, between myth and manuscript, a new idea is stirring. It does not aim to erase belief, but to expand it. The theory that gods may have been misunderstood visitors from the stars is no longer confined to speculative fiction. It has drifted into conversations once reserved for scholars and theologians. Ancient alien theories propose that the figures described in religious texts, those radiant, skybound beings who came with knowledge and power, may not be metaphors or divine apparitions, but misidentified extraterrestrials. And with that proposition, something subtle but seismic begins to shift. If the miracles of old were manifestations of advanced technology, if the angels with wings were visitors with flight capability, if the burning bush was an interface rather than a symbol, then theology is not being replaced, it is being rewritten. Not discarded, but decoded. And in that decoding, a new dialogue begins, between the sacred and the scientific, between the ancient and the future. At the heart of this theory is not blasphemy, but reinterpretation. The stories that form the bedrock of modern faiths, creation myths, divine laws, prophetic visions, take on new dimensions when viewed through a lens of advanced contact. The parting of waters may no longer be magic, but manipulation of matter. The descent from the heavens no longer allegory, but literal descent. In this reinterpretation, figures once thought to be gods may have been emissaries, not spiritual in essence, but biological, not infinite in scope, but sufficiently advanced to appear so. And Arthur C. Clarke's famous law echoes through this framework. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. For ancient people, with no context for propulsion, genetics, or electromagnetic fields, the arrival of another species would appear divine. Their devices, incomprehensible. Their knowledge, immeasurable. Their presence, unforgettable. And so they were written into the myths not as visitors, but as creators. Their tools became sacred relics. Their warnings became prophecy. Their departure became mystery. This recontextualization doesn't render religion obsolete. Instead, it opens it. If humanity was seeded or influenced by beings from beyond, then the idea of a creator is not destroyed. It is redirected. The divine becomes expansive, no longer limited to the abstract sky or the metaphorical heart, but existing across galaxies, carried on solar winds, encoded in DNA. The spiritual becomes interstellar. In this view, the soul remains. It is the origin that shifts. And for some, this shift is liberating. It allows for belief in both science and spirit, in both the stars and the scriptures. It reframes the sacred not as something that happened to humans alone, but as part of a cosmic process, a narrative that includes other worlds, other minds. In this way, ancient alien theory becomes not an attack on theology, but a bridge, a way to reconcile the mythic with the material, a new genesis in which the breath of life is the product of design, and the designers came from above, not symbolically, but physically. Yet not all reactions are accepting. Many theologians see this theory as a dilution of divine power, an intrusion of speculation into sanctified ground. To suggest that the God of Abraham, of Moses, of Muhammad, of the Vedas may have been one of many intelligent beings diminishes the uniqueness of revelation. It renders chosen people accidental, miracles explainable, prophecy mechanical. It collapses the vertical relationship between the divine and the mortal into a horizontal network of civilizations. For those who hold faith not as metaphor, but as literal truth, ancient alien theories can feel like betrayal. They blur the line between reverence and rationalism. They place scripture under the lens of archaeology, linguistics, and astrophysics. And in doing so, they challenge the infallibility of divine narratives. This discomfort is understandable. For centuries, belief has offered structure, comfort, community. To replace divine origin with cosmic engineering is not merely a change in facts. It is a change in meaning, a redefinition of why we exist and who is watching. But for others, this challenge invigorates theology. It compels a deeper questioning. Why would a creator limit creation to a single world? Why would divine intervention occur only within specific cultural boundaries? Ancient alien theories propose that sacred texts are fragmented records of a much larger interaction, that what we call religion may be the echo of contact, processed through the lens of ancient minds, preserved through ritual and oral tradition. This lens doesn't eliminate the divine, it diversifies it. It asks not whether God exists, but whether God is singular, or a concept shaped by many intelligences. It proposes that perhaps divinity is not a being, but a state, achieved by those who evolve beyond violence, beyond ego, beyond linear thought. And if so, then the aliens of old may not have been gods, but aspirants, advanced, yes, but still fallible, capable of creation and destruction, of teaching and testing, of compassion and indifference. And this, too, is reflected in the dual nature of many mythic figures, both benevolent and wrathful, both loving and punitive. If ancient visitors left an imprint, it would not be clean, it would be complex, a mirror of their own journey. The impact on theology is not uniform. In some traditions, ancient alien theories fit seamlessly. Eastern philosophies that embrace cycles, multiplicity, and non-dualism find easy parallels. The Vedic descriptions of flying machines, of star beings, of layered realities resonate with the language of modern contact. Shamanic practices, long dismissed by mainstream religions, gain new credibility as potential modes of communication, not with spirits, but with consciousnesses beyond Earth. Even the concept of reincarnation may be reinterpreted as the transfer of memory or energy across bodies, species, or dimensions. In this tapestry, ancient alien theory becomes not a disruption, but an enhancement, a way to fill the silences in Scripture, a method to interpret the metaphors, a bridge between myth and mechanism, and for many seekers, this bridge is essential. It allows faith to survive in a world of telescopes and genetic sequencing. It allows spirituality to evolve. There is also the psychological dimension. Ancient alien theories speak not just to belief, but to identity. If humanity is not alone, if we are the result of guidance or intervention, then our uniqueness is contextual. We are one of many. This humbles us, but also elevates us, for it means that we are part of a larger story, that our history is not isolated, but intersected. This view can shift the center of meaning. Prayers once directed upward may now be directed outward. Pilgrimages once made to sacred sites may take on new interpretations. Temples as landing pads, glyphs as data points, rituals as encoded communication. The sacred becomes technological, the miraculous becomes engineered, but the awe remains. And awe is perhaps the essence of faith. Whether one bows to a deity or stands in silence before a sky full of stars, the response is the same: reverence. In churches, mosques, temples, and homes, the question begins to echo. What if the stories are true, but not in the way we thought? What if the angels were envoys? What if the commandments were protocols? What if the revelations were translations of an alien message? These are not questions of proof, but of perception. They do not demand abandonment of belief, but its expansion. A belief system that cannot accommodate new frameworks becomes brittle, but one that can absorb them becomes resilient. Ancient alien theory, at its core, is not a demand. It is an invitation to see the sacred as larger than one species, one planet, one story, to consider that the divine may be expressed not only in scripture, but in signal, not only in faith, but in pattern. And if that is true, then theology has not reached its end. It has reached its beginning. This shift is already unfolding. Seminaries are beginning to ask whether extraterrestrial life would alter core doctrines. Religious leaders ponder whether the existence of another species negates the concept of salvation. For some, the answer is clear: no. A just and omnipotent deity would not limit creation to Earth. Others argue that if aliens exist, They too are children of the divine, governed by their own covenants, their own revelations. This theological pluralism is a natural extension of a universe in which diversity is the rule. In this framework, evangelism becomes not conquest, but conversation. Doctrine becomes dialogue, and the sacred becomes scalable. Whether life arose independently or was catalyzed by design, it is no less miraculous. Whether angels flew on wings or plasma drives, their impact on human consciousness remains. Whether the gods of old came from Olympus, heaven, or Orion, they shaped who we are. Ultimately, the impact of ancient alien theories on modern theology is neither to destroy nor to replace. It is to evolve, to suggest that the search for God and the search for extraterrestrial life may not be separate quests, but parallel ones, that the impulse to look up, to wonder, to seek is the same, whether one is in a cathedral or an observatory, that faith and curiosity are not opposites, but companions, and that in the convergence of myth and mathematics, of prophets and physicists, of scripture and star maps, a new kind of reverence may emerge, one that honors the past, embraces the unknown, and prepares the soul for a cosmos far stranger and far more sacred than we ever imagined.